back and introduce somebody today. We want him to go. He's going to fill the time. I'm telling you, he's got a ton of information for you. But this, I believe, I'm going to make a bold statement here. This is the most important thing you can learn as a real estate agent. And that's this. It's not just how to make money. It's how to build wealth. We always talk about how to get buyers and sellers and listings and contracts and things like that, how to make money. But how do you build wealth? There's a difference. So Austin Cheviron, he's the lead trainer of Cheviron Coaching. And his company is designed to help you with your life, business, and legacy. You're going to love his story. He's going to tell you how to avoid those ups and downs, those peaks and valleys in real estate. And you're going to love his story as he tells that. And he's going to give you some actionable items. So get on here. Make sure you grab a friend. Tell them to get their butt on here. This is the most important thing I think you learn as a real estate agent. With that, Austin Cheviron, take it away, buddy.
Thank you, Jim. I got two questions. First, if everybody could turn their camera on, please. I would love to see you guys.
Love it. Get those pretty faces on here.
I'm okay. I can see Jamie's on the phone. I'd rather see him on the phone than not see him at all. That's okay, because that way when I talk to Jamie later and go, Jamie, maybe we should spend some more time together. I don't think you heard everything. And that's okay. That's better than not seeing him at all.
I love it. Short attention span synopsis on that. Get them in here. Do it, Austin.
I love it. Jim, let me help you impact the group here. So Jim got to see me speak in Cincy and in Detroit.
In front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah. Can you help everybody? Just what was your nugget or two you got to take away from that, just to prep them?
The biggest thing I learned was this, is that they never teach us actionable items to build wealth. Like, how do you keep from having the peaks and valleys, right? Like, we're rich one day, we got a $20,000 commission check, and then we're broke the next. It's the ups, the downs, the roller coaster. How do you even that out? And I thought the way you had it was so simple to do. It's also simple not to do, but I thought it was genius. Real actionable items that I wrote down as I've been doing this since 1997. And I learned stuff right then. I'm like, our people need to hear this.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. I love seeing, I was looking at Jim when I was in Cincy. I see you right there. You've been around long enough that you should be eating this stuff up, because you know this is real life stuff. So here's what's ironic. I'm going to take you guys on a journey today. And what I want you to make sure you get is this journey's not about me, it's about you. And the best way that I can help you self-discover is to put a mirror right in front of me and to tell you what I did, why I did it, what I was thinking, what worked, what didn't work. Okay, so you can see real life, the reality of the decisions. Okay, I think that's the best way to say it. So reality of the decisions. This is real, this is authentic. I'm going to push you guys today because I'm here to impact you. I'm not here for me. I'm here for you. Okay? So make sure whatever I'm saying, you don't look at it as, oh, look what Austin was doing. I need you, Nikki, to say, how does that relate to me? What can I do from that? Does that relate to me? Nope. Okay, well, let's see what the next thing he says is. Can I relate to that? And today will be successful if you find one golden nugget out of today. Just one thing. If you get one thing out of the 20 things I say, today's a success. And I'm going to start with what Jim was saying. Here's what I found. Most people teach us how to make money. Open houses, expireds, sphere, internet leads, processes and systems around making money. Lately, it's been about buyer's agency contracts. And yes, we need all that. Don't get me wrong. We need all of that. But here's the formula that I see where it's incorrect. If you work on making money, but you don't work on where that money goes into and keeping it, the formula will equal air by the time you're done. It'll say air. And what air means is whatever vision I had of my life, I might not be there. Air. And here's the greatest example. It's funny, I work in my conference room here, and I just look for, I'm a visual guy. I like visuals. And I happen to look around, and the things that my pen sit in, I'm like, there's the best example possible. What is that? It's a cup. Okay, and here's an example. Look at that cup. That's the cup that most real estate agents pour all their commissions into. Jim, you know the problem with that cup is? If you pour your commissions into that, what's the problem?
It flies right back out, and then you don't know where the hell it went.
But Jim, I'll just spend another 10 hours. I'll do 4 more open houses. I'll make all these cold calls. I'll do door knocking and I'll pour into this cup. Do you know what the problem is? You're not going to have anything left at the end of the day, no matter what you make, if you don't focus on this. And this is a beautiful example, just sitting 2 feet away from me for the last years, of why our formulas don't equal wealth. It's because we spend all this time thinking about how do I make money and what's a new tactic and strategy, and less about, well, if I put all that money in, what do I have left? How do I ensure that I keep it? And that's what I want to work on with you today. I'm not here to make you love me. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to impact you, for you to find one thing, for you to change and be the example for yourself, your family, and the generations after you. And my topic today is called A Wealthy Life. I thought that was ironic when I made that up, because life wasn't always so wealthy. And give you a quick little backstory. I will have a slide deck that I'll share with you guys here so you can follow along and see some interesting pictures. Since I was 6, I've been surrounded by real estate agents. So right now I'm 40. I've been married. There, that a girl, Nikki. She needs to hear this too, Nikki. Good job. Bring your kids in. This is important. That way she can hold mom accountable. So, so since I was 6,
grandma.
Oh, grandma, sorry, even better. We can get mom and grandma accountable then. I like it. So since I was 6, I've been surrounded by real estate agents, and I'm 40. So that equals 85% of my life has been surrounded by you guys. So if you ever ask, how is this guy able to speak on this? It's because 85% of my life, I've watched it, I've witnessed it, I am it. I am a licensed real estate agent. I've sold real estate. Okay. Better than that, when I was about 10 and 11, my dad became the manager of the largest Coldwell Banker office in the nation. So not only have I been surrounded by real estate agents, I've been surrounded by the top individual agents in the country, the highest level that we see. And here's what I found. Business is easy, life is hard. Business is easy, life is hard. And if you say, well, Austin, business isn't so easy to me. Well, it's because maybe life is a little harder for you. Because what I found is the one thing that destroys our business is normally our life. What do you mean, Austin? Well, if you have a heart attack, how well is your business going to do? If you're depressed, how well is your business going to do? If you're getting a divorce, how good's your business going to do? It seems like easy questions, right? Well, this is a reality of what people go through. If your business is doing really well and you neglect your family, yourself, and everybody else in the world to go chase one deal after another, after another, after another, I don't care if you're a high achiever. I've been a high achiever too. Let me tell you, it's easy to chase those deals. If you chase them and you lose what's most important to you, life becomes really hard. Okay. And I'm about winning twice. I like to say I win twice. I win in life and I win in business. And I make sure if I only win in one, I win in life, because it's more important than business, period. I win in life. Now, don't get me wrong. I still run massive business. Yeah. Business is still doing really, really well. But I make sure I have my rule, which is my life is going to be cared for, my family and my kids. And then business comes after that. And I get what are called boundaries. I have my right mindset. I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. I have what's called a vision. Today, the one thing you might get is to make sure you have a vision, because it helps drive all my decisions. My decisions are very easy to me in my life because I already know where I'm going and why I'm going there. Jim says, hey, Austin, you want to speak in my group? Hell yes, I do, Jim. Well, do you want to know who it is? Nope. Do you want to know how many people there? Nope. Are you going to be there, Jim? Yep. Okay, I'm good. I'll speak to Jim again. I'm good. Me and Jim will just hang out because I have a vision. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. Okay. I'm going to share with you my slide deck now that I told you a little bit of my past here to help explain who I am and what I am and why I'm here. So remember, as I keep moving through this, today's not about me, it's about you, but I'm going to put a mirror in my life to help you figure out where this relates to you and what you might want to do or need to do to change. Okay. I'm going to start with the question. Go to my notes here. My first question, I want you to take something to write with, please. My first question is what does wealth mean to you? I want to take 30, 45 seconds and just write down. This is a working presentation today. What does wealth mean to you? Might mean happiness. Might mean freedom. Might have to do with financials. Maybe it has to do with health. What does wealth mean to you? Keep writing. This isn't something that we do for 30 seconds either, and then we call it good for our lives. This is a good think time question. Think time is the time in which you're thinking about your life and who am I and who do I want to become and why am I here? What is my purpose? What does wealth mean to you? My second question I want you to write down is who would you change for? You're looking at Nikki's screen. She might have an example right there. Who would you change for? Who would you get uncomfortable for? Who would you take the ship and turn it around and say, you know what, this thing's not working so well for me? I'm willing to make a change. Who would you change for? I want you to have those two things written down as we might come back to those here as we keep growing today. First thing, this is a young Austin, 20 years old. So 20 years ago, I was licensed now for 20 years, believe it or not. Half of my life, I've been licensed. The other 35%'s been around real estate agents. So at 20, I've been licensed, selling real estate. Now, I didn't happen to do so well in the beginning. Like maybe some of you, I didn't do so well, but I did one thing well, and I want you to see this. I did one thing well. I was able to get married and stay married. That alone is a feat within itself. Why? Because I got the life side right. No matter what happened in the business, I had the life side right. And that's my beautiful bride, 17 years now. Her name's Lindsay. She is my complete opposite. She's who keeps me grounded, who keeps me out of trouble, I'll say. And I got that right. Now, what else was interesting is I had my first kid at 26. I always say, look at that little face. That little face, she's a little crap. And she's still at 14. I always say she's going to be my next CEO of one of the companies or one of her own. She is just like her father, pain in the butt most days. And she is ruling and running the world. When I ask who will you change for, I've now given you a couple of my examples. This change is going to be tough. Now, let me give you the last example here. Here's my son at 28, a short 12 years ago, everybody. To give you timelines, timelines are very important to understand how quick things can change if you decide for them to change. A short 12 years ago, I had my son. Now, at the same time, I happened to qualify for welfare. 12 years ago, I was given free money by the government because I couldn't afford to take care of myself and my family. 12 years ago. Seems a lot longer than that now, is all the crap I've been through. But I say that to you because you might be there right now. You might have a child who's there right now. And just knowing that if you have a vision, things can change. And so I made a couple commitments on this day, very important. I made some to my wife and my family, and I made some to myself. The ones I made to my family were this: one, home every night at 5 o'clock for dinner. Commitment to my family. Because I knew business was going to pick up. When I put my mind to something, I always achieved it. The problem was before this man came, this man right here did not have a vision. This man right here did not have a vision. The difference, this man got a vision. Why? Because he hit the bottom. And I said, I don't want to be at the bottom anymore. I want to be at the top, and I'm willing to work for it. And I know I'm a grinder. I'm a hustler. I believe in myself. Even though I haven't shown the world any success, I know the success lives within me. Do you believe like success lives within you? Like, do you believe you're capable of doing something? I hope so. But I know for me, it comes with the warning, because when I put my head down, man, I go to work. I told my wife, I'm going to get to work here. We're never going to be here financially again. I will make sure of this. I don't know how the heck we got here, but I'll make sure we're never here again. And I made her 3 promises. One, home at dinner every night at 5 o'clock. Why? Because I did not want to lose my family for what appears to be success in real estate. I've seen that way too many times. That never equals success. If for any reason you don't want to be with your spouse, don't make your work the excuse to have that happen. Go deal with that stuff head on. The second, after Friday, after 5 o'clock, no appointments. So the first is home every night for dinner at 5 o'clock. The second, Friday after 5, no appointments. Why? Because who really wants to work on a Friday evening? I mean, aren't you tired by that day? Don't you want to do something for yourself? And so I took that for myself. The third commitment I made to my wife was no appointments on Sundays. Yep, I said it, no appointments on Sundays. I'm not necessarily saying I recommend that to you. I had a clear vision, though, and I knew I'd be able to make it work with my vision, with my drive. Now, it was ironic at the time, my boss and my owner both told me that there's no way I could ever become successful if I didn't schedule appointments on Sundays. That's what they told me. You know why? Because they didn't have the same vision I did. And ironically, I'm where I'm at today because of my vision. And so I went to work. Here's what happened. Within 4 years, I went from being the last agent at that company. It was an independent company with about 100 agents. I went from being the last agent to the #1 agent at the company within 4 short years. It's possible. You want to know how I did it? Write this down. It's really simple. I've never been that smart of a guy. So I can't share with you complex things because I'm not that smart. But what I can do is share with you simple things that if you work on and you understand how they work and how they fit together, they'll normally bring you massive success and achievement. And here were the 3 things that I needed. I found out. 1, I needed a vision. Okay? Part of that vision, I told you about my wife. What I didn't tell you was to myself, I said, when my son graduates high school, I have 18 years from the day he was born. Right here, I have 18 years. When he graduates high school, I want to be free of 3 things. I want to be free of location, free of time, and free of money, which means if I want to go over and hang out with Jim for a month and do whatever we're doing with Jim, I can do that without worrying about how much money is that going to cost me. I got to get back to Fort Wayne to go to work, and I don't have the time because I have all these other commitments. I wanted to be free. And so I went to work. 1, you need a vision. You'll hear me say it over and over and over. You got to get a vision, and it's hard work. Why? Because in real estate school, they don't teach you to have a vision, do they? No, they teach you about sections and land rights and all these things that I've never really needed. You know what I needed? I needed a vision. I needed to understand that my cup has all these holes in it. Like, this is the stuff that I needed to be taught that no one was teaching. After a vision, I needed a system to work on. You need a system and a process. Why? Because it helps you get there faster, more efficiently, with less problems. All of us should have a goal of some kind. Well, the goal isn't probably to do this before I die. It's probably to do it within a year, a month, 6 years, 10, whatever it is, which means you need a system to ensure you get there in your timeline. And the third thing that I needed was a guide, Guide, a guide, somebody who's been there and who's done it, someone who could show me the ways of my systems to say, hey, if you do this, then this might not happen. If you run your car over the cliff, Austin, you might not make it another day. Maybe you turn around. I love there's a movie called Karate Kid. A lot of you guys have heard of it. A lot of you have watched it. In Karate Kid, Daniel-san had a guide named Mr. Miyagi, right? If you go back and watch that movie again at the very beginning, before Daniel-san meets Mr. Miyagi, you'll find out the guide he was using was actually a magazine. A magazine. That's what he was using. Well, how well do you think that guide's going to do for him? Not well. And then when he met a new guy, the new guy showed him a new system. You know, remember what he showed him? The wax on, wax off stuff? That was the guide system. And Daniel-san had a vision. His vision was to not be beat up by these kids anymore. He didn't want that. He had a vision, he had a system, and he had a guide. Those are the three things I needed to get me moving forward. One of those is probably lacking for you right now. I want you to identify, write with your pen and paper, which one's missing, you think? A vision, a system, or a guide. Just document it. This is private stuff too. So you don't have to share it with everybody. What's missing? Put a circle around that. Circle, put a star. That's something you can work on after we're done. Remember, today is not about me. It's about you figuring out, what do you need to do? What is the one nugget? What can I take? What can I do to get to the next version of myself? So what's really interesting is I went to work because I had the vision. I had a goal of making $3 million a year. And I knew selling real estate, that wasn't going to happen. Why? Because no one I knew made $1 million selling real estate. Let alone where I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana, $500,000 is a great income. Our average pricing here where I live today is $250,000, to give you a clue. It's not 500 or a million, it's $250,000. So you got to sell a lot of houses to make money. So what I did, Stephanie, you with me here? This is where you come in, Stephanie. I can't see you right now, but I told you we'd come back to this. So I went to my boss because I thought the only way I'd ever make $3 million is by owning my real estate company. Knowing what I know now, that is the last place I would ever go to make $3 million. Don't want the liability, the headaches, the problems, the limitations. I want to figure out a way to give and receive money from it. And so I went to my boss and I said, hey, I want to buy part of this company because I don't know another way. And they said, yes. I thought, okay, great. Well, 8 months later, they said no, after 8 months. And I was like, how is that possible? My life has completely changed now. Like I was heading down this direction and then now it's pivoted and it wasn't my choice. And I thought, how am I ever going to achieve my goals now? I felt lost. My vision got trampled. And I happened to call one of my friends, somebody I coached at the time. And she happened to be the #1 real estate agent at EXP in 2019 in Canada, #3 overall for the whole company. So very high producer. That's what we produce. Very high producer. And she said it was a Saturday night. Stephanie, this is cool because you were there on Monday. It was a Saturday night. And I remember it was 8 o'clock at night. I'm talking to her and she's like, I'd never told you about anything. And I said, that's fine. She goes, you got to come out on Monday and go visit this company. And I thought, okay, I'll go take a look. So I flew out there on Monday, had no clue about anything. And what I saw was a place in which I could give my talents and abilities to that would provide me a residual income. So next thing you knew, I moved over my real estate company. Everybody thought I was crazy, other than my father. And my father said, Austin, what's the chances this is the right decision? Please, at this time, please know, at my local company, I went from being on welfare in 4 years to being the #1 agent. At that time, I had the largest team and I trained and coached 70 of their agents. But because I have a vision, because I knew that my vision probably wouldn't get there, I knew I needed to make a change. And so I made a quick pivot. And I moved to another company that allowed me to give my talents and abilities to that company. And then soon after that, believe it or not, within a year, by me giving my talents and abilities, this company said, hey, I think you, out of these 250 instructors, had the most impactful message this year. Do you know why they said that? Is because my message was different than everybody else's. This is what I believe. It was different. And what was different about the message? It was focused on life and the aspects of life and how those aspects of life go into your business. And what I did is I brought what I was training the 70 agents at my last company, which was how does life and business go together? We call that the Agent Success Program. I just brought that to this company and they said, we love this. And the next thing you know, other people started to figure this out too. And then when other people started to figure out, they joined our team and they said, hey, if you could help me get my life right, ooh, this is key. If you could help me get my life right, I'll join you and I'll come with you and I'll let you lead me. And what was really interesting is these people ran good businesses. They were looking for just a better lifestyle. They were looking for people who understood that selling 50, 60, 70, 80 homes a year where everybody else thinks they're amazing and they're all saying, oh my gosh, look how good you're doing. They're feeling shallow and empty on the inside because they're really missing what's most important, which is their life and their family, their legacy. And so I started working with these people. And next thing you know, these 25 people started producing amazing results. We ended up running one of the top teams in the country, production per agent, by just training these agents on how to live a great life, how to handle their money, how to be home with their family at certain times. How do you tell a client no? Hey, I know you want me to go show you that house at 6, but I'm with my wife right now. And I think we need to have a conversation about who's more important than who right now, right? Like, I'm sorry, you must think you're more important than my wife. Let me back up here a second and create some boundaries that I can help you understand how this is going to work. And I'm going to stop my screen. I want to see you guys when I say this. I operated off of fear when I first thought that. I had a vision which pulled me forward. But in my head, I thought, if I create these boundaries, Jim, what do we think is going to happen if we create these boundaries? What do we think? What's the fear?
We think business is going to crash, right? We're going to lose out.
Yep. I hope you're all hearing that. When you create your vision in your life of what you want to do and why you want to do it and all of that, when you create that, your fear will be, well, what if they don't agree with me? This is real stuff right now. And at the end of the day, I had to say, well, I don't care if they agree with me or not. I'll just go have to find more people then. Because if they don't agree with me, then we're just not going to hang out, you know? I'm not going to work with Kim if Kim's going to sacrifice my marriage and my kids. I'll just have to find another Kim. And because I built my business by referral, I knew that if I provided service, I could always go find another person. And I had to be willing, this is key, guys, I had to be willing to create boundaries and push through that fear to become the person that I needed to become to live the wealthy life. And I knew right, and Kim, I'm picking on you, but I don't mean this to you, by the way. I knew if Kim said, hey, Austin, I got to see that house at 6. I don't care if you're eating dinner or not. You know what all that just tells me? Is Kim, you got to go. You got to go now. Because what I see is so many real estate agents, they drive through the red lights time and time and time again. And then what happens is they total their vehicle and they say, well, how did we get here? Do you know you just drove through 14 red lights? Do you know that? Like, it started with, hey, I need to have a meeting with you to figure out who you are and how I can help you. No, I just want to see the house, Kim. Okay. And then you go show the house. And then you get to the house and they're a half hour late. And then when they get there, they say, hey, I'm sorry, I got to go do something else. I only have 5 minutes. We'll schedule another time. And then they go write the offer and they say, hey, Kim, I know the house is 600, but I want to write it at 400 because I don't like the color of the house next door. Oh, and Kim, I don't want to call your person. I want to use somebody else. I want to save 1/8 of a point of someone who I don't even know because I want to save that $11 a month. I don't want to use your person. These are the red lights after red lights after the red lights that we run through as real estate agents, because what we're saying in our head, what are we saying, Jim? Oh, I'm sorry, you took a drink there. What are we saying, Jim? Say it. You guys say it out loud
I'm
again.
afraid. I'm
I'm
afraid.
afraid. We're afraid of losing them. I'll tell you this. One of the best things I ever did for myself was I helped create an abundance mindset compared to a scarcity mindset. It takes work to do that. It's one of the best things I've ever did. How do you create an abundance mindset in your life, in your business, in your financials? How do you do that? It takes time. It's not I did that. It's how do I do that? Because when you're living in a scarcity mindset, life's not as good. I'm just going to tell you, life's not as good. We get one chance around. I'd rather have an abundance mindset and live a good life than have a run scared and have a scarcity mindset. And in time, where we first start is we start with the scarcity mindset. Vanessa, that look right there, that's a scarcity mindset. You don't mean it. I'm just showing you, though. It's like, oh my God, Austin, if I do this, it could all come crashing down. And I want to say, well, let it come crashing, girl. It's going to crash eventually. So let it crash now. If it's going to crash it now. That way we have time where we can fix it. We can get it on track then. Whatever you have right now, if you look at your pyramid, you got a whole bunch of cracks in the base of your pyramid. It's time to address it. Because if you want to grow and you put that weight on those cracks, it's just going to crack anyways. So take a second, go back. Let's go fix ourselves. Let's go fix going back to our cup. Let's go fix our cup. If I don't fix this cup and I keep pouring more in it, I'm not going to have anything. That's the mindset I need you to have. I'll go back to the slide deck here. Show you how this thing kept progressing. Remember, I'm showing you my life for you. This isn't exactly what I'd like to talk about. I don't like talking about myself. I just do what I do. But if I don't show you what I did and how I did it and how I made these decisions, it might not impact you today the way it needs to. Jim, you remember the banana? Let me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was in Cincy with Jim and I was talking about a banana. You see all these things? These are all my rental houses now. Why do I have rental houses? Because I have a vision that I need my money working for me compared to me working for it. I gave myself a warning once. I said, Austin, if you have to work for your money, you might always have to work for your money. Might seem like a simple statement. Let me say it again. If you have to work for your money today, you might always have to work for your money. And the last thing you want to be is a 75-year-old real estate agent saying, well, I don't know how to get into this hologram lockbox. What happened to the old combinations? Because that's what's going to happen. You're going to be 75 years old still selling real estate. Why? Because you never took the seed out of your fruit and planted it for a later harvest. Fruits have seeds in them. The seeds are put in fruits to be pulled out and to make for a harvest for later. You pull them out, you plant them, you water them, you take care of them, and next thing you know, that seed makes for a whole nother fruit. And in Cincy, I didn't actually have a live banana, but I had a picture of banana. Do you guys know what color the seeds are in bananas? There's little black seeds in bananas. I didn't know that at first. And then once I realized it, I said, well, how could I ever have more bananas when I eat the seeds? Right? It's simple. How could I ever have more if I eat the whole thing? Well, no offense, I was never taught to take the seeds out and plant them for later. But I know that if I don't do that, I will always need to keep making more bananas. But if I take the seeds out and I plant them, I'll not only have enough bananas for me, I'll be able to have enough for everybody who's in Grow Global. And if anybody in Grow Global needs a banana ever from Austin, I'll be able to give you one. Why? Because I took the seed out, I planted it, and now I have a harvest, an abundance of harvest. And I have a mindset that's not of scarcity. And if I ever run out of bananas, I know I can grow more because I understand the process to do that. Here's what this has to do with these rental houses. I realized that real estate agents didn't ever have a machine to process their commission checks when they came in. They take the commission check, it comes in. We live rich lives and we have poor lives. You heard Jim first thing he said when you come in. He's going to teach you not to have the rich life and poor life, which your life goes up and down like this based off your commission checks. And you're either living high on the horse and you love your life, or you're low in the dumpsters. Okay, it's one or the other. And if you live in the northern states like me and Jim do, let me tell you, every January, February is pretty tough around here because it snows. And when it snows, it's harder to buy houses and sell them because people don't want to move in the winter. And I am always in the crapper in January and February. They're just, I already know it's coming. And so because I have a machine that helps process my money and it separates it, takes the banana, it pulls the peel off of it, takes the banana, it takes the seeds out. I created a machine to process my commission checks. That machine in 5 short years produced this as my rental portfolio, which is a pretty amazing life now because the first of the month I get a deposit. It's called mailbox money, comes in and I can work for free the rest of the month, because I figured out a way to receive a passive income from my previous energy and effort. Now, these are my rentals. This might look like a lot of work to you guys. Every single one of these houses are within 25 minutes of where I currently sit right now. I'll give you a strategy here. They're all within 25 minutes of where I physically sit right now. I have a real estate license. I personally was not the real estate agent when I bought any of these houses. I hired someone else to do it. The specialist. They actually manage these for me too. I've never been on the inside of any of these houses. And some of these, like I got a really nice one here and there. I'm like, damn, I bet that looks good on the inside. And I've never seen them. You know why? Because I found out that if somebody takes their investments on average and they make it an investment of their time and not their money, that they'll have a negative experience towards it and they'll sell it because they didn't get into this business to be a janitor. Yeah. No offense to property management. That's a hard job. I would never want it. You know what I want? I want the money. Because the money provides me a freedom. It helps me. Remember, I had 3 goals: freedom of time, freedom of location, and freedom of money. If I work on these, then I might always have to work on these. And I could go live in Ohio. I could come down to Texas. I could go over to California. And this system and process works without me. Because the more I'm in it, the higher the chance I won't have it long term. I know that because I sold real estate for a lot of years to a lot of people that had rentals. And so by processing my commission check and taking the seed out of it in 5 short years, I was able to have a harvest like this. I know it might seem impossible to you guys, but remember 12 years ago, I was on welfare. No one would have bet on me. I was a 3-legged horse that had a disease. It'd have been easier to shoot me in the head and call it over with than to say, well, let's go work on this horse and maybe one day he could win a race. No one would have said that. Maybe my dad might have said that, but he would have even thought in the back of his mind, yeah, he's my son, I should say it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll bet on somebody else. Okay. Let me show you what betting on yourself looks like. As you heard, we ran one of the top real estate agents, real estate teams in the country, production per agent. We just trained them how to do what I did. I was also one of the top agents in the state of Indiana at the age of 32, 4 years after being on welfare. Closed 88 transactions by referral at 32 years of age. I quit selling real estate. I quit running the team. I sold my property management company. I shut down my insurance company. I went all in on coaching and training other people on how to do what I did. And so they can see the results too. Why did I do that? Because I had a vision. How could I do that? Because I set myself up financially to be able to do that. To not have to worry about the next paycheck here and the next paycheck here. Okay? It's a lot of work. But life's good once you get yourself on your vision and you start living it. You know, there's a phrase I say that says, my goal is to give my life away before it's taken. That might mean something to me different than it means to you. But the goal is to give my life away before it's taken. When your last day comes, are you still going to have fuel in the tank? I want to be like, man, I want someone to say, he not only didn't have fuel in the tank, he was on E. It's amazing he was still going as long as he did. He gave everything he had. everything. The question is why? I asked you earlier, who would you change for? Who do you see in that picture? Who would you change for? You see my daughter, you see my wife, you see my son. You know who else you see in that picture, Jim? You see me.
Yep, you're part of it.
Yep. I'm somebody I'll change for. And he had to ask, who will you change for? I asked you to write down a name. Maybe you wrote down yourself. Most of us don't. But at the end of the day, I know if I'm not good, no one else is good. I can't give out of a cup that's empty. So I have to make sure that I'm good. So I can give to my spouse, so we can give to our kids, so I can give to you guys. Because if my family life, if today was a disaster in my family household, how good do you think I'm going to do today for you? Not so well. Why? Because I'm not going to be thinking about giving. I'm going to be thinking about my mess at home. And so when I ask who will you change for, I think it's pretty important. Because if you currently are today, if you're in the same place in 10 years from now that you're in exactly where you're at today, is that what you truly want out of your life? I know for me, I want to become more. Trust me, I am very happy where I'm at right now. Very proud of myself. I'm very happy, but you know what? I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied today. I know I have more left in my tank to give and to become. And I don't know where it's all going to go. 4 months ago, I ran one of the top real estate teams in the country. 3 months ago, I shut it down. I don't know where it's all going to go, but I have a vision. And I know what I'm willing to do and why I'm willing to do it. So let me show you how I did it. Remember I told you a guide needs to show you how the systems work? Well, I built out the systems. I'm going to show you this in about 5 minutes, and we're going to open it up for Q&A. So make sure you have some good questions here. We're going to have 10 minutes, Jim, believe it or not, questions. So let me show you how I did this. Because if a guide can't tell you how to win, get another guide. Okay? If the guide can't tell you how to win, get another guide. And if the guide hasn't done it themselves, I'd put caution tape around their strategy and system because they might not know if it works or not. I fortunately have worked through all this, and here's how I did it. You know how to build wealth, how to live a wealthy life? You start with the goal. You start with the vision. Everything always starts with a goal and a vision. What they say, without it, people perish. Have it. The second is you need to become aware of your past. A lot of us carry this baggage around. Might have come from our parents, our grandparents, somebody else, but we have this baggage. We have to become aware of how do we think about wealth? What does that look like? Were you taught that money is evil and the devil? Were you broke growing up? Were you rich and you were spoiled? Like, what is becoming aware of what's implanted in your subconscious and how you think? Next, we got to worry about the black hole here, which is your spending. Your spending will always equal, unless you fight, your income. It's amazing how much money you make. It will always go out. If you tell yourself, Austin, I will start giving, or I will start taking the seed out when I make 100,000 a year, let me tell you, you won't. It's actually harder as you make more. It is so much harder when you make more money to do something different. Because your cars get nicer, they get newer, they get faster, the houses get bigger. Next thing you know, you're flying first class when you could have sat in the back. It's the same ride. It's the same ride. They just give you a little meal. You can put a snack in your book bag. Okay? I'm telling you, it goes quick. After that, we needed to work on our financials. I needed to make sure all of my assets and all my liabilities were in one place. This was important to understand. What do I have? And how do I change it to become and to grow into the next version? After that, I talk about credit score. Your credit score is like an umbrella. It gets cast on everything you do in life. And if your credit score is not good, I'm going to tell you, apologize. Your credit score is not good. Everything else, your interest rates are higher. They won't give you the loan for the investment property. It all starts to hurt. So we got to work on your credit score. From your credit score, I realized what I did is I simplified my financials because financials are tough and they're complicated, right? I'll just be real with you. Working on your money is tough and complicated for most people. So you have to simplify it if you're truly going to dominate it. From there, my spending, I took and I categorized it because I realized there was a difference in buying toothpaste for $4 and Starbucks for $4. Even though they both showed up as $4 purchases, they were different. They served my life in different ways. And I had to categorize and start separating all my spending. From there, after that, I worked on reducing my debt because I knew if I had 26.99% interest rates, that was eating the hell out of my wealth, just eating it and eating it. And I knew that if I had that, I would never get there. After that, I worked on reducing my spending. So that was a sub part of the categorizing. Once I categorized my money and I realized that, hey, I'm spending this money, but it's really not doing anything for my life, then I figured out a way to reduce it, which none of us want to spend less money. I know you might say you do, but then when we actually do the work, you're like, well, I like that Starbucks every day. I like this. I like that. Yes, I get it. But what do you like more? The chance of being free one day or this $6 thing or this $12 thing or this $20 thing? And you have to make a decision at some point. The last piece here in this section, what was really interesting is I found the majority of us spend about 45 hours a week working. We spend 5 hours a week spending money, grocery store, Amazon, whatever your choice of drug is to spend your money. And here's where I realized it failed is we spend about on average 30 minutes a week organizing it and taking care of it. If I take 50 hours making it and spending it and 30 minutes organizing it, that's 1% of your time is there taking care of your money. Well, if you took care of your kids 1% of the time, how good of a father or mother do you think you would be? It'd be the worst possible. That's why your financials are bad. It's because we don't spend enough time working on it. Here's a trick for you is spend 15 minutes a morning looking at your bank accounts, credit card statements, and on Friday, spend 1 hour to ensure your money is in line with your vision. After that, we talk about your business. And I'll just start with this. How do you become the CFO of your company? The true CFO. How do you think about running your financials? How well are you doing? If you gave yourself a grade from an A to an F, what grade would you give yourself of being the CFO of your company? Write it down. Give yourself a second. Write it down. What would you give yourself? How well are you doing? The results would speak for themselves. If I came in and audited your company, I'd say, show me your money. Yes, you are the CFO. The last part of this here, I want to talk just about the top two. Wealth to me lives on after I'm gone. Very important. I don't believe if I'm worth $50 million and living a great life and all this stuff, if I die, if my family starts hating each other, and if all my assets crumble down and they die, I don't believe that's wealth. I believe wealth lives on after me. And so we have to talk about an inheritance and teaching people how to deal with your wealth once you're gone. It's not fair for you to leave them a big mess, even if it's worth a lot of money. And then the last one, as I talked about, is giving. I think the secret to living is giving. And how do we have the abundance mindset? We were able to give from even a cup with barely anything in it. I still have the mindset that if I can give to you because I have something and I know I can make more. And that's what we call the Cheviron Pyramid of Wealth. I spent the last 90 days in my bedroom writing this entire program, documenting it for my kids. Somebody asked me on a call before this, why did you do all this? It was for my kids. It wasn't for you. I just happened to be able to share it with everybody and put time and energy and money behind it to be able to help you guys. If you guys want to go through this program launches November 5th. You can scan that little QR code. 2025, I've made it my goal to help as many people make that the best financial year ever in their life. Very hard thing to do. That is my goal for 2025. And I figured the best way to do that is to let people go through what I would train my kids on showing them exactly how dad went from being on welfare to a multimillionaire living a great life. Here's exactly how I did it. It's not what you think. It's not about making more money. It's about how do you think about money, how do you care for it, and how do you set it up for generations to come. For our first 100 people in this, we'll have 3 private masterminds in November and December for me to come in and personally coach this group through it to set up once again 2025. So that's it for me today. I'll open it up for questions here.
Awesome job, Austin. Awesome job. So if you guys have questions for Austin, now's the time to hit him. Usually he's on stage in front of a huge group of people, so you can't get to him. He's got private security around him and stuff like that. So here's your chance to go after him right now if you'd like to. Samantha, you're unmuted. Would you like to ask a question, Samantha Burnett? She's like, oh, I didn't know I was unmuted. Here's the thing. If you guys have a question, everyone else probably has one too. Go ahead, Samantha.
No, that was an accident. My apologies, but I do appreciate what you're saying as far as what you value. That's important for us to take time to consider that and
I
write it
love it.
down so that we can know what it is. So that was very, very powerful. Thank you.
I like it, Samantha. That was great. Hey, Austin, I've got something while we're getting some people squeeze some questions. So in Cincinnati, you showed something about when the money comes in the funnel. I think you call it maybe your money wheel, right? And then it goes and it separates out. It gets it out of their hands automatically. And then right after that, Nikki's got a question. She's next.
You want me to show you that?
Yeah, show that real quick for everybody. I know it's part of your coaching thing, but this is the kind of actionable item stuff you can get with Austin that's really you're going to put into place.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Here's what it looks like. And this isn't all of it, but this is enough of it. So as your commission check comes in, I realize most of us put it in this business. I call it the operations. That's your checking account. This is your personal checking. This is your business investment account, taxes, deposit. There's actually an advanced one, which is giving and a dream account. But mostly you put your money in your business operations account. The problem with that is you live rich and poor lives. So what I did is I created this thing because I had a vision. I knew I needed a machine to process my money, not my emotions or my habits. And so all of my money comes into a deposit account, which is essentially a holding. And then a series of things happen, which is a percentage of that check moves to taxes and investments, or in dollars amounts move down here to fund this budget. So this is, if you guys don't have a machine like this that processes your money, which no one normally does, the chances of you getting somewhere is just a lot harder.
The percentage, I think, Austin, of real estate agents that get in trouble with taxes that start making 100, 150, 200,000 is like 80%, right? That end up owing massive amounts of tax money. It's something ridiculous.
I would say this, out of every agent I've ever talked to, I would say if I had to guess, 60% of agents are behind on their taxes, 60%. And it doesn't matter how much money you make either. It doesn't matter. These are people who make millions of dollars a year and people who make 20,000. They're both behind. And to me, wealth never equals being behind on taxes.
Right. It doesn't. They hit you with the huge penalties, and then also they put interest on the penalties, so they double dip on you. So they know
it's worse than that, Jim. You know what's worse than that is most of these people, their spouses don't know they're behind on their taxes.
Oh, that helps. That helps with the family life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to talk about dragging around a bomb behind you? It's really hard to live a good life when your spouse doesn't know that you're $50,000 in debt to the government. And you don't have a system and process to pay it back because you're spending all of your money because your lifestyle's got to that point.
Yeah, that's the kind of hard-hitting stuff you'll get from Austin when you sit down and chat with him on this stuff. Nikki, you've been patiently waiting with the hand up. I love the fact you know how to work the Modicon. Unmute, please, and hit Austin up with a question.
So my biggest question, what you're getting ready to offer is an actual like funnel that does everything for you. Because where I'm at right now.
You are the funnel, by the way. So that's a joke. In this program, I am documenting everything I know about money. I showed you the 12 different modules there and the order. I will do the work with you in the program because the work's tough. When I say to do something, I actually do it with you. It is an online program you'll be able to go through on your own in November. It's going to be about 7 to 8 hours long. And then I come in for the first 100 people, bring in a group just like this, and I'll personally coach that group through that program. That will set people up for the best 2025. It's not me doing your financial work, though. It's you doing it. And to be clear, that brings a great point. If you try to sub out some of this stuff, it can get very tough because you have to be in charge of your money at the end of the day. Okay. Once you build it, Nikki, there might be a chance where you can sub some of it out, but you got to understand how your money works before you let other people touch it. So did that answer that question?
Yes, it answered it.
Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime, and then he can also go feed others, right? That's the idea. Is that right?
Because I was always raised, the running joke in our family is my sister used to say, Mom, you got checks, you got money.
Yeah. Right. Goes right in, goes right back out. So Laura from Chicago says, this has been great. Thank you. Laura's a superstar out of Chicago. She's been doing it a few decades there. Isn't that right, Laura? John Heerhold has a question. What is the best way to look for money that is falling out of your budget every month? What is the best way to? And then does your bank automatically do this for you for the money machine that you had down there? Go ahead.
So so let me start with the first one. When we work people through this program, some of the modules stack. So in the very beginning, let me share my screen. I'll show you this. Let me go back to this guy right here. That's loading. There it is. So what we found when I was building this out is I had to separate it for the mind and for the work. So here's a great example. Spending module 3, the first thing I asked you to do is to get 90 days of your last expenses. So 3 months, get it all out there. Just document it. Okay. Then from there, what I need you to do is to categorize it. And I separate it into 3 categories: fixed, lifestyle, and extra. Yeah, now you can do this on your own. I can work with you through it, but you want to get all of your spending in those 90 days and then separate all that into fixed, lifestyle, and extra. And here's the key. If you're not sure which one it is, it always goes down to the bottom one. If you're not sure if this is a fixed or lifestyle, it goes to lifestyle. If you're not sure if it's an extra or how you want to live your life and put in your budget, then it goes down to extras. And then after we categorize everything, the spending reductions, the third part of the personal finances, and I ask people to go in and reduce their extras by 25% within 90 days. So 25% of those extras, which on average for the majority of the Americans that I talk to, let's say it's $1,000 a month of extras, cable, television, Starbucks, whatever you want to call it, it's extra. It's in your life today. I asked them to get rid of 25%. Let me tell you, this hurts them because they're like, well, I'm used to this. This is comfort. Yes, but you haven't paid your taxes in 3 years. Could we please, God, do that first? And you just maybe live. You don't deserve to spend all this money. Let's be clear. You don't deserve it. You're a consumer. I want to change you to be an investor. And so that first 25% we take back, they're starting to build up their life and their business. They see progress. They now have extra money, and it starts going to a place that serves them for later. Completely changes them, completely like that, bam. And then what I asked them to do is to cut another 25% in the next 90 days after that. So within 6 months, we cut 50% of all the extras, which would not feel good to most of you. But when I start putting it into investments, into giving in your taxes, it starts to fill you and you become that person that you've always wanted to be. Yes, you don't have all these extra things anymore. What you have now are things that are important.
So Brian Conrad said, what's a good percentage to hold back for taxes do you recommend? 20%?
Yeah, so we work through this. As you saw that, Jim, if I go a minute or two over, are we okay? Or we got to cut right now?
Yeah, nope. Anybody that needs to jump, obviously they can jump, but this is going great as the questions are still coming in. If you got time, let's roll. We got the great Austin Cheviron here with us. Let's use them up, folks.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yep.
There
Okay.
it is.
Go. The people have to go because these are vital information to all the realtors, that people will listen. So keep going, and whenever you have to go. But the rest of you, if you must go.
Okay,
go,
so
Kim.
here's
go Kim. There she is. Go Kim.
So this is more of an in-depth training. This is actually what's called my wealth machine. And this is module 5 of our agent success program and module 12 of our wealth program. So just to be clear, this is more than I can give you right now. But what I've identified is this little wealth machine here. You can see these two have percentage signs. And the reason why, out of every check that comes in, a percentage moves from my deposit account to my tax and my investment. And in my advanced model, it's giving and dreams. Okay. And so we move a percentage. Why? Because real estate agents get paid sometimes $10,000, sometimes $50,000, and sometimes $500,000. When I had the home warranty check come in for $125, I move a percentage still over to my taxes. When I have a $20,000 commission check, I move a percentage to my taxes. So it's not based off of the amount, it's based off of a habit and a number that I decide. So to answer your question, depending on where you're at and how much money you make, the right answer is probably going to be anywhere between 20% and 33%. What I would advise you to do is to go back and look at last year's taxes. Now, unfortunately, only 40% of you are going to be able to do that because the 60% didn't do last year's. Sorry, it's kind of a funny joke, not really. And if you know how much, let's say I made $100,000 last year gross and I paid $20,000 total taxes, I know that 20% out of every check that goes into my deposit needs to move over to my taxes. And then I would ask you the question next year, do you plan on making more money or less money? If you plan on making more, you might want to move that to 22, right? Because we want to anticipate what's coming tax-wise. Now, if I'm talking about taxes, I also want to talk about your future, which is your investments. A book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Let me pull this back down here so I can see you. There was a book I read when I was on welfare called The Richest Man in Babylon. It was one of the first books to help me figure out my financials. It's a tough read. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's told in old Babylonian times. And so they speak a little different. They use words like thou and stuff like that. But that book taught me that you pay everybody first. They talk about, hey, when you get paid, you pay the sandal maker. They said you pay the jewel maker, the bread maker. You pay all these people first. The problem is you need to pay yourself and your future first before you pay all them. And so that book taught me this philosophy, which is pay yourself no less than 10%, or no less than 10% of all you earn is yours to keep. And so when I had no money, when I was on welfare, as my wife was like, well, it makes no sense, Austin. Well, I get it, honey. When I was on welfare, I took 10% out of all of my money that I made and I put it aside for my investments. And I figured out a way to make everything else work. I figured it out. Like, that's what we're going to have to do. You're going to have to figure it out, because what you're doing now is not working probably for your future the way you want it to. It's okay. It's reality. You got to figure it out. And so no less than 10%. In my life, I went from 10% one year. Once I got the habit, here's the beauty, guys. Once you get the habit, you know you can become something more. You just got to get the habit. Once I go to the gym and I lift 20 pounds, and I know I could lift 25 later, right? And so the first year I did 10%. After that year, I went up to 15. The year after that, I went to 20. The year after that, I went to 25. The year after that, I went to 33%. 10, 15, 20, 25, 33. What I realized at 33%, I wasn't living the lifestyle that I truly desired. I was putting way more away for my future than I was spending today. And so I went from 33 down to 20, and I've been at 20 for years now. 20%'s my number that makes my future happy and my present happy. You know, if you ask me, money for me is a tool for me to be free later. If you ask my wife, money's a tool for her to be happy today. Completely opposite. That's why marriage might be tough, is you married your opposites. And so what I found, the right balance is somewhere in the middle, somewhere where I can enjoy life today and somewhere where I can have money for later so we can enjoy later too.
I love that. What system do you use to track your spending? And Kim says, have you ever heard of Lone Wolf?
So there's, yeah, I've heard of Lone Wolf. I've never personally used it, and I never train on anything that I've never personally used. It's just it's how I operate. So I used for a lot of years mint.com. There's a lot of systems now today. I see commercials about Acorn and Nerd. Well, like, there's all these systems now that help you track it. Full disclosure is no one can take care of your money as good as you. Okay. And how bad it is the more work you might have to do to start with. But what I can promise you is once you get it under control, it becomes easier then. So I would highly suggest to do a lot of the work yourself. And I teach people to do it on a spreadsheet is where I would start. Because if you don't type in that I spent $32 at Costco, no one spends $32 at Costco, let's be real. I spent $320 at Costco. And then I went to Walmart and spent 36. And then I went to the nail salon and I went here. If we don't track all that, then we can't physically see it. And I need you to see it and understand it if we're going to improve it. And then in time, I can hire and get a third party company to come in and do all that for me. That's fine. But you got to grow. You got to become that person.
I love it. I love it. We're with Austin Cheviron here from Cheviron Coaching. And normally he's speaking in front of a huge crowd. You got your last chances here to ask him some personal questions. And I'm going to ask him to flip his QR code back up there again. So if you'd like to check him out some more and what he's offering and get in there, it helps to have a guide who has systems in place that you may not already have, right? Most realtors were just good at going out, meeting people, right? Building rapport, overcoming objections, right? Doing a needs analysis, but we're not good at the money side, being the CFO. This teaches you to be the CFO of your company, and it's a great way for you to get in there. And we're starting in November, right? Coming up in
November 5th. I think it should launch on election day, which is a joke within itself.
Oh, that's great. That is awesome.
Scared
that
about your future? Take control of it yourself.
The money wheel, we might be upping the saving for taxes 45%. Might be going to that number possibly. So we'll see what happens with that. But all right. So any questions before we let Austin jump off of here? Take a shot of the screenshot. Just check it out. Get in there and check out what he's got going on and things like that. See if it fits what you're trying to do. We're talking about working on our business, not just in our business, because we're all great at working in the business, but you got to spend some time working on it. So how about unmuting, giving Austin a round of applause here and a great job. Tell him, well done, well done. Laura from Chicago says, thank you so much. Melvin Burrell from Los Angeles says, thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
It was amazing.
Austin,
Thank you.
I
Awesome
guess
job,
one
brother.
of the habits you have to help them break first, I'm talking about me, is like, don't be afraid of tracking expenses.
Yeah.
I know I'm guilty, so I'm like, tracking? Oh my God, I'm going to be caught.
Accountability as an adult sucks. Who wants that? No way. I don't like it.
I love it.
But it's got to be
Thanks,
done,
Austin.
right?
You have been amazing. I take a lot of notes, you know.
Thanks from
my notes is
Ohio.
just like,
Thanks from
check your
Austin,
spending.
LA. We got it
Great
all over the
notes. Thank
country
you.
coming in. And then
Guys.
don't forget to, guys, take this video, share it with a friend that didn't make it. Make sure you invite them. Now, next Monday, we are not going to be here. It's Labor Day. We're going to be celebrating that. So 2 weeks out, we'll have our next session. Stay on the Why Grow Global webpage to get on there. Don't forget, on that page, we also recommend topics. And maybe you're an expert, or maybe you know an expert, right? Like Austin was here today. You can invite them in. You can suggest a topic, and you can come in here. And we like to keep it relevant. And this, I've never seen anything more relevant than this. Right? They wish they taught Austin's class or a segment of it in real estate school, because it would keep a lot of realtors from being in trouble when they first come out. And like you said, I think you're right, Austin. I think it's harder to implement this when you're making a lot of money than it is if you start this habit when you first get started on your very first check. I think it'd be way better that way than once you've been doing it for 5-10 years. It's a lot more painful then to go back and doing the cutting, I think.
Right. You're right. Thank you, Jim, for today.
Thanks so much for jumping on, man. Your stuff is
Thanks,
awesome.
Austin.
Looking forward to seeing you in Miami here in 2 months. See you down there.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there. Thank you, everybody.